Timeless Stoicism. Insights from Marcus Aurelius Meditations. The emperor who wrote for himself. Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, 121–180 CE, stands as one of the most paradoxical figures in history. He was emperor of Rome, ruler of an empire stretching across Europe, North Africa, and the Near East. He commanded legions, governed millions, and held in his hand powers almost unmatched in the ancient world. Yet, his most enduring legacy was not in the monuments he built, the wars he fought, or the laws he passed, but in the quiet notes he wrote to himself in his personal journal, notes never intended for the eyes of others. These writings, preserved as the work we now call Meditations, form one of the greatest monuments of philosophy. At first glance, Meditations is not a systematic treatise like Aristotle's Ethics or a polished essay like Seneca's On the Shortness of Life. Instead, it is a scattered notebook of reminders, reflections, and admonitions, but behind the apparent disorder lies a coherent thread: the application of Stoic philosophy to the life of an emperor beset by immense responsibility and personal trials. Marcus and Stoicism. Stoicism, founded in Athens around 300 BCE by Zeno of Citium, had by Marcus's time spread through the Roman world. It taught that the only true good is virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. External things such as wealth, fame, and even health are indifferents. They may be preferred or dispreferred, but they are not what makes a person truly good or bad. The core Stoic insight is that we cannot control what happens outside us, but we can always control our judgments and choices. This is what Epictetus, the freed slave turned Stoic teacher, called the distinction between what is up to us and what is not up to us. Marcus, who likely read Epictetus' discourses, makes this distinction central to his journal. For him, philosophy was not speculation but a discipline, a way of life. The world of Marcus. Marcus's reign was anything but tranquil. He inherited an empire that was wealthy and powerful, but also strained by political intrigue, external wars, and internal decay. Much of his time was spent on military campaigns along the Danube frontier, living in military camps rather than palaces. The empire faced invasions, plagues, and the threat of decline. Yet amidst these storms, Marcus cultivated an inner citadel of calm. His meditations were written in such environments, on campaign, intense, surrounded by soldiers and uncertainty. The contrast is striking. The most powerful man in the world writing notes to himself about humility, mortality, and the importance of kindness. The purpose of Meditations. It is crucial to remember, Meditations was never meant for publication. Marcus was not writing to impress others, but to discipline himself. They are self-exhortations, reminders to stay true to Stoic principles when confronted with anger, fear, temptation, or despair. When he reminds himself not to seek praise, it is because he was tempted by it. When he insists on kindness to others, it is because cruelty and impatience pressed against him. The very fact that these were private notes gives them their enduring power. We overhear Marcus in conversation with himself, stripped of pretense. Unlike polished works of philosophy, Meditations is raw, repetitive, and deeply personal. The enduring value. Why does Meditations matter today? Because Marcus Aurelius wrestled with the same questions we still face. How to live when life is short and uncertain. How to control the mind in a world beyond our control. How to forgive wrongs and remain just in a corrupt society. How to accept death not as tragedy but as part of nature. His words offer not only historical insight but timeless guidance. In our modern age of distraction, ambition, and anxiety, Marcus's Meditations remain a handbook for resilience and meaning. This summary expands upon his writings thematically, offering both a digest of his reflections and a bridge to contemporary life. While faithful to his spirit, it is not a literal translation but a paraphrase and elaboration, a way to hear his voice in modern language while exploring Stoic thought more systematically. With that, we turn to the books themselves. Book 1, Gratitude and the Foundations of Character. Marcus begins not with abstract philosophy, but with gratitude. Book 1 is a catalogue of people who shaped him, family members, teachers, mentors, and friends. Each entry is a meditation on the virtues he absorbed from others. For Marcus, Philosophy begins not with self-celebration but with acknowledgement that character is shaped in community. Gratitude as discipline. From his grandfather Varus, Marcus recalls a disposition of decency and mildness. From his father, though he died young, he remembers integrity. From his mother, humility, piety, and generosity. From his tutors, discipline in philosophy and avoidance of trivial pursuits. Each lesson is not just memory, but a living standard against which Marcus measures himself. This act of gratitude is more than courtesy, it is a Stoic exercise. Gratitude grounds the self in virtue and prevents arrogance. Marcus, Emperor of Rome, begins his journal by reminding himself that everything he values came from others. This counters pride and reinforces humility. Learning through models. Stoicism emphasizes learning virtue through examples. Just as a sculptor learns by imitating masters, the Stoic learns by observing those who embody wisdom. Marcus's roll call of influences reflects this pedagogy. He seeks not abstract principles but living demonstrations of virtue. For instance, he praises Rusticus for teaching him not to be misled by sophistry, and Sextus for showing him how to live with dignity and patience. Each figure embodies a piece of Stoic wisdom, making philosophy practical and embodied. Modern relevance. In modern life, we too inherit our character from mentors, family, and society. Marcus's exercise of gratitude can be adopted today as a journaling practice, listing those who shaped us, identifying the virtues we wish to emulate, and consciously choosing our influences. Gratitude becomes not just emotion but strategy for self-cultivation. Book 1 is foundation. By beginning with gratitude, Marcus reminds himself that philosophy is not detached speculation but lived tradition. Stoicism is handed down through teachers and friends, through character more than words. The emperor recognizes that he is, in a sense, the product of those who came before him, and therefore bears responsibility to pass on the same virtues. Blank. Book 2, The Shortness of Life and Daily Discipline. If Book 1 looks outward to others, Book 2 turns inward. Marcus opens by reminding himself each morning, when you wake up, remember you are rising to do the work of a human being. This sets the tone for Stoic discipline. Life is short, and every day is an opportunity not to be wasted. Life is fleeting. Marcus insists that procrastination is folly. Death may come at any moment, and to delay virtue is to risk losing it forever. He reminds himself that emperors, philosophers, generals, all pass away. Time swallows everything. What remains is not wealth or fame, but the character of one's actions. This awareness of mortality is not morbid but liberating. If life is short, then trivial concerns, praise, luxury, idle disputes, become meaningless. What matters is to live in accordance with nature, with reason, justice, and courage. The struggle against laziness. Marcus chastises himself for preferring comfort. Why resist rising in the morning? Why cling to sleep? The body seeks ease, but the mind has higher work. You were born to act. He reminds himself, not to lie in bed. The Stoic life requires effort, not indulgence. Here, Marcus articulates a timeless principle. Do not seek motivation. Seek duty. A Stoic does what is right not because it feels pleasant, but because it is required by reason. In this way, virtue is a discipline, not a mood. Indifference to external hardship. Marcus also emphasizes that external discomforts, cold, hunger, fatigue, are irrelevant compared to internal corruption. It is worse to betray justice than to suffer pain. The body may be harmed, but the soul can remain untouched if it refuses to assent to false judgments. This is a central Stoic doctrine. No one can harm you unless you consent. External events are neutral. Only your judgment can turn them into harm. Therefore, protect your mind as the highest good. Modern relevance. Book 2 resonates powerfully with modern readers. In an age of distraction and comfort, Marcus's call to rise and do the work of a human being is urgent. We too procrastinate, indulge, and complain about minor discomforts. His voice reminds us, life is short, do not waste it. Summary of Book 2. In sum, Book 2 is a wake-up call. Marcus faces himself with honesty, rejecting excuses and calling himself to virtue. The Stoic path is not easy, but it is urgent. Each day is an opportunity, and each wasted day is lost forever. blank. Book 3. The Mind is Fortress. In Book 3, Marcus Aurelius turns to the sovereignty of the mind. He reminds himself that nothing external can truly harm him unless he grants it permission. The world is filled with events, death, slander, poverty, fortune, but these are neutral until interpreted by the mind. The inner citadel. Marcus uses the image of the mind as a fortress. Just as a citadel protects its inhabitants from invaders, so too can a disciplined mind shield the soul from chaos. External events may strike with force, but they cannot penetrate unless we open the gates with false judgments. This is a central Stoic teaching. Harm arises not from things themselves but from our opinions about them. Fire burns, illness weakens, but whether these are evils depends on judgment. A wise mind remains unshaken, interpreting events as part of nature's order. The futility of anger. Marcus warns himself against anger. When someone wrongs us, it is often out of ignorance. They think they act rightly. To respond with fury is to double the harm. The wrongdoer errs once, but we err twice by surrendering our tranquility. Instead, he counsels compassion. Correct if possible. Forgive if necessary, but never allow anger to rule. This advice reflects his Stoic conviction that anger is always weakness. True strength lies in control of the self. By remaining calm, the Stoic demonstrates mastery. By raging, he becomes a slave to passion, living according to nature. Book 3 also insists on harmony with nature. Every being has a role, and ours as rational creatures is to act with justice and reason. To deviate from this is to betray our nature. Just as the vine grows grapes and the bee gathers honey, so the human being is designed to live in community, practicing justice and virtue. Thus, when we resist duty or act selfishly, we become unnatural, like a tree that refuses to bear fruit. Marcus reminds himself constantly that life's purpose is not pleasure but duty aligned with reason. Modern relevance. In our own age, the image of the mind as fortress remains powerful. Social media, criticism, workplace politics, all present attacks on our peace. Yet, as Marcus insists, the citadel is impregnable unless we let the enemy in. We cannot stop insults, but we can choose not to assent to them. Practically, this means developing habits of pause and reflection. When anger rises, ask, is this truly harmful? Or is it my judgment that wounds me? In this, Marcus's daily self-reminders become timeless psychological exercises. Summary of Book 3. The essence of Book 3 is self-mastery. Protect the citadel of the mind. Resist anger, and act in harmony with nature. External chaos is inevitable, but inner peace is always possible through discipline. Blank. Book 4, Impermanence and Perspective. Book 4 expands on the themes of impermanence, cosmic perspective, and the insignificance of human affairs. Marcus writes as both emperor and philosopher, reflecting on how even the greatest names vanish with time. The fleeting nature of fame. Marcus reflects that many once celebrated men are now forgotten. Generals, emperors, philosophers, all pass into obscurity. If even Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar fade, how much more quickly ordinary men? Therefore, to seek fame is foolish. What is glory but the opinion of others, who themselves are mortal and fleeting? This recognition cuts at the root of ambition. If renown is temporary, the only lasting good is virtue itself. Virtue depends not on others' memory but on one's own choices in the present. The smallness of human affairs. Marcus often zooms out to a cosmic perspective. Imagine Earth from above. Nations, wars, riches, and honors appear trivial. From the scale of eternity, even a long life is but a moment, and all of history is a tiny drop in the ocean of time. Such reflections aim not at nihilism but at humility. By seeing our place in the vast order, we learn not to take ourselves too seriously. Our troubles shrink when measured against the immensity of nature. Acceptance of change. Nature is change. All things arise, transform, and pass away. To resist this is to resist reality itself. Marcus counsels himself to welcome change as part of nature's rhythm. Just as leaves fall in autumn, so too must people die and empires crumble. Instead of lamenting, the Stoic embraces impermanence as natural. Death is not an evil but the return of elements to the whole. Life is loaned to us, and death is merely repayment. Duty in the present moment. Despite this cosmic humility, Marcus insists on duty. If life is short, then the present is all we truly possess. Therefore, do not waste time in distraction, gossip, or idle speculation. Instead, devote yourself fully to the work of a human being, justice, reason, and service to others. This is where Marcus's Stoicism becomes practical. Even if the universe is vast and human life small, our duty here and now remains urgent. Modern relevance. In modern life, we too struggle with ambition, distraction, and fear of death. Marcus's counsel offers perspective. Wealth, fame, and even career success are fleeting. What matters is integrity in the present moment. His cosmic view parallels what astronauts describe as the overview effect, a realization of Earth's smallness that fosters humility and care. Summary of Book 4. Book 4 teaches impermanence and perspective. Fame fades, life is short, and everything changes. Therefore, seek not external validation but inner virtue. Live fully in the present, in harmony with nature's flow. Blank. Blank. Book 5. Duty over pleasure. Book 5 begins with one of Marcus's most famous self-exhortations. When reluctant to rise from bed, remind yourself that you were born to act, not to lie beneath blankets. Here, he explores the theme of duty versus pleasure, discipline over comfort, rising to the work of a human being. Marcus rebukes himself for clinging to sleep. The bees and ants rise to their labor, fulfilling their nature. Shall a human, gifted with reason, shirk his duty? To waste time in sloth is to betray one's purpose. This is not a rejection of rest but of indulgence. Rest has its place, but to make comfort one's aim is to live beneath human dignity. The Stoic rises to meet the day with vigor, seeing duty as noble, the common good. Marcus emphasizes that we exist for one another. Just as the hand belongs to the body, so each person belongs to the community. To work for the common good is natural. To live only for oneself is unnatural. Thus, duty is not mere personal discipline but social responsibility. An emperor, like any man, must serve the whole. For Marcus, this meant governing justly. For us, it may mean contributing to family, community, or society. Indifference to praise. Again, Marcus reminds himself that praise and blame are empty. People who offer it are themselves mortal, their opinions fleeting. Therefore, to pursue fame is to chase shadows. Instead, one should act rightly for its own sake, not for applause. This echoes the Stoic principle. Virtue is its own reward. The right action derives from reason and justice, not from external acknowledgement. Responding to injustice. Book 5 also addresses how to deal with wrongdoers. Marcus reminds himself that people act out of ignorance, believing they do right. To hate them is to misunderstand. Instead, he counsels patience and correction, always aiming at harmony. This reflects his belief in universal brotherhood. We are all citizens of the cosmos, children of the same nature. Thus, injury from others should be met not with hatred but with compassion and, where possible, instruction. Death and the present. As always, Marcus returns to mortality. Death may come at any moment, so let us act rightly now. To waste time in complaint, ambition, or indulgence is to squander the only possession we truly hold, the present moment. Modern relevance. Book 5 resonates strongly today. The temptation of comfort, sleep, entertainment, procrastination, is universal. Marcus's stern reminders serve as timeless motivation. His emphasis on the common good speaks to an age struggling with individualism. Our true purpose lies in service, not selfishness. Summary of Book 5. The essence of Book 5 is discipline and duty. Rise each day to the work of a human being, not for fame or comfort, but for justice and the common good. Embrace mortality as reminder to act now, with courage and compassion. Blank. Book 6, Justice, Kindness, and Universal Brotherhood. Book 6 is among the richest of Marcus Aurelius' reflections, centering on justice, kindness, and the recognition of humanity's shared destiny. If earlier books emphasized personal discipline, here Marcus turns outward, considering his responsibilities to others. Humanity as a community. Marcus repeatedly reminds himself that every human being is part of a single community, bound together by reason and by nature. Just as hands and feet exist not for themselves but for the body, So individuals exist not for isolation but for service. To act against others is therefore unnatural, like a hand cutting itself. This vision of universal brotherhood is central to Stoicism. All rational beings are citizens of the cosmos, cosmopolis. Borders, classes, and distinctions fade in the face of this truth. We are all kin. Justice is the highest virtue. Marcus insists that justice is not optional but fundamental. To act unjustly is to betray one's nature as a rational being. He places justice even above philosophy itself. What good is reasoning if it does not produce right action? For an emperor, this meant ruling fairly, protecting the weak, and restraining his own power. For us, it means practicing fairness in daily interactions, treating others with dignity, honesty, and respect, responding to wrongdoing. Wrongdoers, Marcus argues, act from ignorance. They believe they pursue good, though they err. Therefore, we should meet their actions with patience, not hatred. To despise them is to misunderstand their condition. Better to instruct gently or simply endure, remembering that they are our kin. This does not mean tolerating injustice passively. Marcus acknowledges that one must resist wrong, but with calmness and without malice. The Stoic fights injustice not with rage but with reason and firmness. The fragility of the self. In Book 6, Marcus also returns to the fragility of human life. The self is but a mixture of body and breath, easily dissolved. Wealth, honor, even health are transient. What remains is the integrity of one's soul, the refusal to act unjustly or selfishly. This humility tempers ambition. Why seek renown when even emperors are forgotten? Why cling to possessions when death strips them away? Better to focus on the one good that is secure, virtue. The common good in modern context. In our age of division and individualism, Marcus's insistence on the common good is radical. He reminds us that true flourishing comes not from isolation but from cooperation. To live selfishly is to contradict nature. Whether in politics, community, or family life, our highest calling is to serve one another with justice. Summary of Book 6. Book 6 presents a vision of humanity united by reason and nature. Justice is the core of virtue, kindness the proper response to ignorance, and the common good the measure of all action. This remains one of Marcus's most enduring lessons. We are here to serve one another, not ourselves. Blank. Blank. Book 7. Acceptance of fate and nature's order. In Book 7, Marcus Aurelius meditates on fate, providence, and the necessity of aligning oneself with the order of the universe. His Stoicism here blends humility with resilience, reminding himself that the world unfolds as it must, and wisdom lies in consent to its laws. Providence or atoms. Marcus often frames the question, is the universe governed by providence, divine order, or by atoms, blind chance? In either case, the conclusion is the same: we must accept events as they are. If providence governs, then all unfolds rationally, according to nature's wisdom. If atoms govern, then resistance is futile, for events are beyond our control. Thus, whether fate is guided by reason or by randomness, the Stoic response is serenity. Do not demand the world conform to your wishes, conform your wishes to the world. Welcoming events as nature's will. To resist fate is to resist nature, and therefore to harm oneself. Just as the vine bears grapes and the sun gives light, so too must events unfold as they do. Our task is not to rebel but to cooperate, to see every circumstance as part of nature's order. This does not mean passive resignation. Marcus urges active participation. Rise each day and act with virtue. Welcoming each event as an opportunity to practice courage, justice, or patience. Fate provides the stage, our duty is to play our role well. On death and transience. Book 7 also reflects on death as natural dissolution. All forms change. Bodies decompose. Matter shifts. Souls disperse. This is not tragedy but transformation. Like a leaf falling in autumn or embers cooling into ash. To fear death is to misunderstand nature's rhythm. Instead, Marcus counsels acceptance. Death is not an evil, but part of the cycle of renewal. If it comes today, receive it calmly. If tomorrow, use the present moment well. Indifference to pleasure and pain. Marcus warns against attachment to pleasure and aversion to pain. Both are indifferent, arising from the body, not the soul. To chase pleasure is to become its slave. To fear pain is to shrink from duty. True freedom lies in indifference, meeting both with equanimity, pursuing only what reason commands. Modern relevance. Book 7 speaks powerfully to modern anxieties. We often rebel against circumstances, demanding life be other than it is. Marcus reminds us, the world is not under our control. What is under our control is our response. To accept fate, not passively, but with dignity and courage, is liberation. His reflections on death also resonate in a culture that often avoids mortality. Marcus teaches that death is neither enemy nor injustice, but part of the cosmic order. To fear it is to waste life, to accept it is to live freely. Summary of Book 7. The heart of Book 7 is acceptance of fate. Whether the universe is governed by providence or chance, our task is the same: act with virtue. Welcome events as natural, and meet death with serenity. Blank. Blank. Book 8. The dangers of vanity and praise. Book 8 explores the traps of vanity, praise, and the pursuit of reputation. Marcus Aurelius reminds himself again and again that the opinions of others are fleeting, and to build one's life upon them is folly. The emptiness of praise. Marcus observes that those who praise us are themselves soon dead and forgotten. Their judgments are unstable, biased, and often ignorant. Why then seek their approval? To value praise is to enslave oneself to the fickle minds of others. He contrasts this with the pursuit of virtue, which requires no audience. A good deed is good in itself, not because it is witnessed. True nobility lies in self-mastery, not in applause. Vanity is corruption. Vanity, Marcus warns, corrupts the soul. To act for display rather than for truth is to live falsely. The Stoic must be sincere, guided by reason, not by desire for recognition. Even emperors are not immune. Marcus reminds himself that his station offers constant temptation to vanity. He counsels humility. You are but dust and breath, soon to vanish. Let not titles or honors deceive you. The emperor and the slave alike return to the earth. The triviality of reputation. Marcus often reflects on how quickly reputation fades. How many once great names are now forgotten? How many who once sought glory now lie in oblivion? If renown is so fleeting, it cannot be the good. Instead, he urges focus on the present duty. Reputation belongs to others. Virtue belongs to you. Therefore, live well now, indifferent to how you are remembered. Simplicity and sincerity. Book 8 also emphasizes simplicity in life. Avoid luxury, pretension, and excess. Live plainly, in harmony with nature, valuing integrity above adornment. The wise man does not need ornament, for his character shines without it. Modern relevance. In our age of social media and constant exposure, Marcus's warnings against vanity feel prophetic. The pursuit of likes and recognition mirrors the Roman chase for applause. His counsel is timeless. External validation is empty, inner virtue is sufficient. His humility also challenges modern notions of success. Instead of chasing reputation, he insists on sincerity and service. To live simply, without pretense, is radical wisdom in a world of performance. Summary of Book 8. The core message of Book 8 is freedom from vanity. Praise, reputation, and fame are illusions. They fade with time and depend on others. Virtue alone is real and self-sufficient. Therefore, act with sincerity, live simply, and remain indifferent to external applause. Book 11, Clarity of Thought and the Nature of Reason. Book 11 of Meditations is a gallery of short, piercing insights, where Marcus Aurelius, like a sculptor of the mind, chisels away illusions until only clarity remains. Here, the focus is on reason as a guiding principle, the rational faculty that elevates humans above mere instinct, binding them to the divine order of the cosmos. Marcus insists that every person has been endowed with a spark of logos, the rational principle that governs the universe. To live against reason is to betray one's own nature. To live in accordance with reason is to live harmoniously with the whole. Thus, reason is not merely an internal compass but a universal law, shared by gods and humans alike. A key theme is the discipline of thought. The emperor reminds himself, do not let the mind be dragged by passions, trivialities, or idle chatter. Strip impressions down to their essence. When anger arises, call it a contraction of the soul. When pleasure tempts, call it a movement of the senses. By naming things truthfully, one robs them of their power. Above all, be vigilant. An undisciplined mind becomes a puppet, pulled by the strings of external events. Marcus also reflects on justice and community. Since reason is universal, so too is kinship. He urges himself never to act unjustly, never to seek advantage through deception, for each wrong against another is a wound against oneself. Justice is not optional, it is the natural expression of reason. As fire rises or water flows, this leads to meditations on self-sufficiency and simplicity. Do not require applause, for the mob praises one thing today and despises it tomorrow. Do not require luxury, for the rational soul needs little: food, shelter, virtue. The rest is clutter, weighing down the spirit. Marcus also revisits mortality. Life is short, soon you will be dust. Your name forgotten, your body dissolved into the elements. Even emperors, warriors, and philosophers vanish in the current of time. Yet, reason remains eternal. Therefore, live rightly in this moment, for this moment is enough. The modern lesson of Book 11 is the necessity of mental hygiene. Just as the body requires exercise to stay strong, the mind requires constant vigilance. By practicing clarity, honesty, and restraint in thought, one builds resilience against the chaos of the world. In a culture saturated with distractions, Marcus's counsel rings sharper than ever. Keep your reason pure. Guard your mind as a fortress. All else is passing. Blank. Book 12. Final Reflections. Living in accord with nature. The last book of Meditations has the tone of a farewell, not only to the text but to life itself. Marcus Aurelius, aged and weathered by war, illness, and the burdens of rule, turns his mind toward the end of existence. Here, Stoicism shines with its most luminous clarity. Death is not a tragedy but a natural event, a return of the soul to the whole from which it came. Marcus reflects that life is but a moment between two eternities. To crave immortality is folly, for every creature is allotted its span by nature. A leaf grows, flourishes, withers, and falls, so too does man. Why resist what is as natural as the setting of the sun? At the heart of Book 12 is the principle of living in accordance with nature. This does not mean retreating into forests or rejecting society, but rather aligning one's will with the rational, ordered cosmos. Fate may bring pain, loss, or joy, but each is woven into the larger tapestry of being. To rebel against fate is to rebel against the universe itself. Marcus speaks often of the present moment. The past is gone, the future uncertain, only the now belongs to us. The wise man, therefore, pours himself wholly into the present, doing his duty with justice, patience, and calm. Whether life grants him another decade or another day is irrelevant. What matters is that he lives in harmony with reason until the last breath. Another theme is the insignificance of worldly fame. How many emperors are forgotten? How many warriors buried without song? Even the names that endure are mere sounds, carried briefly by mortal tongues before fading into silence. To live for reputation is to build castles in sand. Far better to live for virtue, which requires no witnesses. The emperor closes his meditations with a quiet resolve to meet death without fear, to embrace whatever fate decrees, and to live, until the end, as a servant of nature and reason. These are not the words of a despairing man, but of one who has achieved serenity through wisdom. For us today, Book 12 is a profound reminder that mortality gives meaning to life. Each day is precious precisely because it is finite. Instead of clinging to illusions of permanence, Marcus urges us to live well now, to cultivate justice, courage, self-control, and wisdom, so that when the final moment comes, we can let go in peace. Conclusion. The enduring value of meditations. The Meditations of Marcus Aurelius is unlike any other text of antiquity. It was not written for an audience, nor polished for rhetoric. It is a private journal, the self-dialogue of a man burdened with power, seeking clarity amidst turmoil. And yet, precisely because of this intimacy, it speaks across centuries with a voice unguarded, vulnerable, and deeply human. At its core, the work teaches a handful of unshakable truths. 1. Virtue is the highest good. All else, wealth, fame, pleasure, pain, is secondary. A man who lives with justice, courage, moderation, and wisdom is invincible. 2. Control lies only in the mind. External events belong to fate, but our judgments belong to us. By mastering our thoughts, we free ourselves from slavery to circumstance. 3. The present moment is enough. Life is brief, and death inevitable. The past cannot be retrieved. The future cannot be controlled. Happiness resides in embracing the now with gratitude. 4. We are part of a greater whole. Each human is a limb of the cosmic body. To act unjustly is to wound oneself. To live in harmony with others is to live in harmony with nature. 5. Death is natural, not to be feared. Just as birth was a merging of elements, so too is death a return. What matters is not how long we live but how well. For the modern reader, these truths offer not only consolation but guidance. In a world overwhelmed by noise, ambition, and distraction, Marcus Aurelius' words cut through like a blade. Do what is just. Guard your mind. Accept fate. Live now. His philosophy is not abstract speculation but a manual for living with dignity in the face of suffering, uncertainty, and death. It equips us with tools of resilience, reminding us that peace is found not in changing the world but in changing our relationship to it. As we close this journey through meditations, one image lingers: the emperor, alone in his tent on a distant frontier, writing by lamplight, surrounded by war, disease, and betrayal. He turns inward, reminding himself daily of what is true and good. Though centuries have passed, his words remain, a light for all who seek strength, wisdom, and serenity.